All right, how's everybody doing? We are live. This is episode number 28 of Kalibrated Live with Scott. I'm Scott, of course. I hope everybody's doing good. Let everybody filter in here. Yes, this is the vibe of today's show. I'm sorry. Who must get going at this time? If any of you don't know, that is the Assad meme, because everybody said that Assad must go, but President Bashar al-Assad has outlived them all. So, you know, that's the ongoing meme, and it has been extended to Victoria Nuland, who was also instrumental in certain aspects of the Syrian civil war. So very interesting. Yes, the Cookie Monster is gone. Bye-bye, Cookie Monster. Again, if you guys don't know what this is a reference to, Victoria Nuland came to Maidan after, I believe it was after everything had kind of wrapped up, and was handing out cookies. Or maybe it was in the middle of it. I can't remember exactly what the timing was on it. She was handing out cookies to all of the protesters and all of the, very, very ideologically driven individuals who are participating. So it was a pretty good look. But our good old girl, Victoria Nuland, the Victoria Cookie Nuland, is officially gone. She is set to retire in a couple weeks, which is just fantastic. I mean, of all the people on the planet who should not be probably in existence, Victoria Nuland is that one person. Responsible for a lot of death, a lot of destruction around the world. Obviously, in my personal opinion, one of the biggest players in the current Ukraine conflict. Organized the coup, backed the funding throughout the whole entirety of the war. She was really pushing this idea of like a Ukrainian victory at any cost to the last Ukrainian, this, that, and the other. So the witch is gone. She's gone. She's out of here. Get her out. She doesn't need to be here anymore. It's just, I don't know. It's kind of a gross situation with her. It's her husband is also oh man, Victoria Nuland's husband runs I think he runs one of the think tanks, right? The ISW thing. So, or one of those. He runs some sort of think tank, some sort of influential. It helps to mold policy and stuff like that. So they're career politicians. They're just kind of garbage human beings. So, yeah, Robert Kagan. Yeah, Robert Kagan. There you go. He's that those two deserve each other very much, and they're very happy retirement. The best to them. Bye, guys. Have fun. I doubt they will retire, but this is actually something very important that Victoria Nuland got removed. She is now looking like the first casualty of this Ukraine project. This was sort of her baby. It feels to me, and this is how I see it, that the White House is now going, and the Biden administration has now decided to go in a different route in terms of their policy as it adheres to Ukraine. And we're going to see a shift in the relationship between the United States and Ukraine. And part of that is getting Victoria Nuland out of that position, because she would not have okayed this new policy change. In my personal opinion, I don't have any facts to back that up. It just seems like we're getting towards that period of time where people who are loyal to this cause are going to start getting rooted out, and a change is coming in U.S. foreign policy in terms of Ukraine. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I guess she's under investigation by the FBI for $10.5 billion that ended up going to Ukraine in different ways. She should be under investigation for her connections to the Biden administration and what the Biden administration was doing in Ukraine in terms of their, blackmailing and stuff in the country, and probably the reason why there's an actual war in Ukraine right now. There should be a lot of investigations to all of that stuff. But she's retiring, which, hey, we take those. She'll probably just be replaced by Victoria Nuland 2.0. It looks like, actually, I will bring up my Twitter and I will show you guys who it looks like is set to replace her. Yeah, right here. All right. Remember, guys, if you have questions, this is probably going to be a little bit of a longer stream. We got a lot to talk about today. So if you guys have questions and you want me to answer them during the stream, I don't always come over and look at, the normal questions. But if you guys do super thanks, it's an easy way to support me. If you have a topic that you want me to talk about, bring it up, please, because I will love to talk about stuff that you guys want to hear about. Yeah, she retired, which basically means she was forced out. She's 62. What politician do you know retires at 62? None. They're that's like the prime of your political career, is like 60 to 75. And then 75 to 82 is the time when everybody's looking around saying, should we really have this person in this position, because they can't really operate. So that's where Biden's at. I just saw a video I can show you guys too. It's him talking about his interactions in Ukraine while he was not in political office. So he wasn't the vice president and he wasn't the president during Trump's administration. And you can really, really see the difference in his cognitive capabilities. It is unbelievable. All Trump should do is get a video of Biden 10 years ago and put it up against a video of him talking today, and he'll win the election. Like, that's all they got to do. Put that out on TV and just push that, put it on YouTube ads, just push it, right? 62, she doesn't look a day over 90. Yeah. Let's see. A little off topic, but predictions for the presidential election. What will Trump do if he wins? I think that the U.S. is pretty much done with Ukraine. They're still going to do little things here and there to make it seem like they care. They can't drop them because they've basically talked them into this whole thing. But I believe that the U.S., in terms of its foreign policy, is realizing that Ukraine is lost, right? They don't want a wider war in Europe because they can't afford it right now. They're not ready for it. They're still getting ready for China, who they see as their actual real competition on the horizon. China's getting more bold in the South China Sea, as they should, with the current situation in Ukraine and the current situation in the Middle East. And so I believe that the U.S. is retracting from this Ukraine project right now, whereas Europe is on the, they're getting the receipt for this. So they're not done. And that's why you hear Macron talking about sending troops in. That's why you have all of this stuff coming out. A lot of people are saying that the German leak about the German Air Force generals that were talking about striking the Kerch Bridge and how different targets that they could hit and stuff like that. All of that, there's some claim that Russia released this. And I don't know where this claim comes from. I don't know where the intelligence comes from. I don't have this intelligence myself, so I don't exactly know. The Russians could have intercepted it and released it, but I have a strong sneaking suspicion that the Germans released this information themselves because they do not want to get further involved in this war. I don't think the Germans wanted really any part of this war. They've just kind of gotten stuck with it. As being the centerpiece of the EU, Germany was like the lead on this. And so, exactly. As Clown said, I suspect the Germans wanted it to be intercepted. Either they wanted it to be intercepted or they released it themselves. It got out there. It's a huge omission of what's been going on. They already talked about, Olaf came out and said that the British and the French had specialists in the country, maybe just the British, but that in and of itself is basically a huge omission that what's going on, right? So the Russians didn't have to release this information. Olaf said it before this was even released, and then this gets released the next day. How coincidental is that? And on top of that, so Europe is on the hook, right? Europe is on the hook for the Ukraine project. They're going to have to continue supplying and continue trying to do this thing, because as soon as Ukraine ends, all of the economic issues that come along with this Ukraine project are just going to backfill and hit them, right? You're going to see the production issues in Germany, the deindustrialization that's going on right now in Germany is going to hit. And Germany is kind of like the example of Europe, right? So if Germany starts going down, everybody else in Europe starts going down, especially the poorer countries like Greece and some of the Eastern European countries who really, really rely on that funding. They're going to get hit hard. So I think you're going to see sort of a fracturing of the EU. As Victoria Nuland said, fuck the EU, right? That's our girl's words. So I think you're going to begin to see a fracturing of the EU, sort of an isolation of the United States, not globally, but in terms of its willingness to participate in the Ukraine conflict. I think it's going to focus on the Middle East now, and it's going to transition to Southeast Asia. And that's going to be over the next 5 to 10 years. It's going to start slowly moving in that direction. And you're going to hear less and less about Ukraine. And then Ukraine's going to wrap up, and it's going to be, we could have had peace the whole time. This is crazy. How is this working? Oh, because they're all okay, basically living with each other. And, Ukraine's going to go. I don't know how Ukraine is necessarily going to end, but, it's going to end probably on Russian terms, right? And so that's not going to be a win for Ukraine. And the U.S. is going to have an off-ramp, a distraction for all of that. So I don't know who's going to win the election. I thought for the longest time that Trump was going to win this next election, but I just don't know, man, because Trump is like so viscerally hated by so many people. I don't know who in their right mind could vote for Biden, but Trump doesn't really seem like the better option either. And even if Trump gets into office, I think he's going to be deadlocked almost the entire time, like he was in his first 4 years. So, it's going to be, there's probably going to be another investigation if Trump wins. There's going to be this, that, and the other. It's going to be a whole big thing. I don't know how Biden can even run for office if he can't stand trial because his mental capabilities are not adequate. So that doesn't make any sense. He refused to do a cognitive test because, of course, he did. And I don't know. I honestly, it's a coin toss right now. It just depends on how vigorous the left in the country comes out and votes. I think if they come out really, really hard and the centrists for some reason choose Biden over Trump, I just don't get that. I'm not a big Trump guy. I don't think really whoever's in office really changes anything. I think the Victoria Nulands run the show basically through the back channels. But I could see Trump definitely winning. He has momentum right now. Do I think that he's going? I mean, if they do a bunch of mail-in stuff again, I don't know. I could see Biden winning, unfortunately, again, and then we are really screwed, and it's time to probably move out of the United States. All right. They are jumping ship because they know Trump is going to win. If they were certain that Trump would lose, they would stay. I don't know. I honestly do believe that this has some more to do with the situation in Ukraine and what her bottom line was while she was in office. She was the proponent of Ukraine support, right? This was her thing, and it's going really bad, and it's not going to work out. So I think that they're actually replacing her. I don't believe that she's actually retiring. It is a good time to get out for her, though, before her career is completely tarnished by all of this. So good. Yeah, it was good timing on that from that aspect. All right. You remember the first thing Putin said before the SMO, Russia will not be intimidated. Everything we do now is trying to intimidate Russia. Yeah, no, that is true, right? And this is something that I don't think the West will ever understand, because this is what the West does, right? This is what scares us. You usually kind of project your culture and your ideas onto other people just because it's natural, right? It's successful for biology. So what the US does is we do exactly what we're afraid of. We are really afraid of somebody being very intimidating, very strong. It's why we're scared of Russia, because Russia's a strong man, right? I think that the United States kind of understands its weaknesses and projects those weaknesses in every single thing it does in its foreign policy. So, the Russians aren't going around the world for the most part, telling people what to do, how to live their lives, pushing their political views on them, whatever, like the US has, right? We're spreading democracy, we're nation building. That's what we think we should do, because that's what we would want somebody to do for us. It's like a very American way of thinking, right? And so we are doing everything exactly wrong, where the US could have gotten they could have absolutely fucked Putin over in a negotiated deal. Even what Russia went into Ukraine with in the beginning, the peace deal that they went in with, other than the sanctions, because the US still thought that the sanctions were going to bring down Russia. So they kind of tanked those peace negotiations. They wanted the war to continue, for whatever reasons. But if they would have accepted that, they could have probably gone through the same sort of Minsk agreement sort of deal and really built up the Ukrainian military and its defenses and everything, and really prepared for the eventual war with Russia. And that's what I really think that peace deal in Istanbul would have ended up becoming, was just a delay to what we're seeing now. And it would have been much, much worse happening, 6 months, a year, 2 years later, rather than when it did. And it probably should have happened in like 2014, to be honest. All right. China have their own banks controlled by the state. Yes, they do. Same thing. I mean, most banks are kind of controlled by the state one way or another, but yes. It's almost impossible now for the U.S. to, it was almost impossible for them to sanction China before, because they're so interconnected with China in a lot of their trade. And now they're starting to separate a little bit, China and the United States. But now there's no point in sanctioning them. They wasted one of their most valuable tools on Russia. And now Russia is building BRICS kind of, and an alternative to SWIFT that's going to be sort of this is a bad word to use. I just want to, like a cartel, like, it's illegal what they're doing kind of for the United States, from the United States perspective. It's going against what they want. And it's the countries that the United States is always at odds with: Iran, North Korea, China, Russia. They're all getting together and starting to work together instead of being separated and controlled by the Western banking system. And I really do think, like I've said multiple times, I think Belarus, North Korea, and Iran are the big winners from the war in Ukraine, because now they have Russia to lean on, basically, for their economic security, and Russia and China and everybody else who trades with Russia, because now Russia isn't afraid of the U.S., isn't afraid of sanctions. I mean, they're literally independent and like free from that now. So there is no threat economically from the United States without some sort of military aspect coming into play, like a blockade or something. Are German tanks more reliable than German cars? Nope, they both break down. They both break down all the time. So, nope. And they suck to get fixed. All right. Let me go over to the map now. Map time. Sorry, guys, it took so long. Oh, actually, I was going to show you Victoria Nuland's replacement real fast. This is him right here. Let me pause this. Hold on. Excuse me. Victoria Nuland's replacement as Deputy Secretary of State. It's going to be John Bass, it sounds like. And he was the ambassador during the Afghanistan withdrawal. So is everybody excited? Is everybody excited to see the planes taking off, the C-130s? It's going to be interesting, right? All right. We also had, I'll go over this stuff later. That is another important thing. We got a HIMARS was destroyed in high definition today, so I'll show that as well. Map. All right, here we go. We got some updates today. The lines are now moving again. It appears that the counterattack around Avdiivka by the Ukrainians has mostly failed. They wanted to retake this entire line, especially this tree line right here, this tree line, I believe. One of these two tree lines right here, which was important for this defense line. Simkivka is the last bastion of this defense line on these little lakes, these little reservoirs right here. So they're still fighting in all three of these towns, right? The Ukrainians are still holding this line. But the amount of investment that they brought into this area in terms of self-propelled guns, large artillery pieces, like rocket artillery, aircraft that were lost in this area. They've lost 4 Abrams now in Berdichi. There was a massive Ukrainian pileup over here. And the Russians are also taking heavy losses here, guys. This is one of the most bloody areas of the map. I'm not trying to make it seem like the Ukrainians just, ate it here. Because the Russians were also taking losses. It's basically just flat fields, especially this approach to Berdichi, where we saw a lot of the carnage on the Russian side. It's very difficult there. And then down here for the Ukrainians around Tonenki, it's almost the same, where they have to cross these open fields to attack Russian positions. So there's this back and forth fighting, but the Russians seem to be gaining the upper hand, and now are pushing deeper into Berdichi, Orlivka, probably going to enter Simkivka soon, and then Tonenki. But I guess it's like hell around here for the Ukrainians. They're having a very, very hard time holding this line. It's not very established already. And I guess the line back behind it is almost non-existent or very sporadically built. So it's not strong at all. This is the last line in this area. And that's why the Ukrainians are throwing almost literally everything they have at it. All right. And now we're going to move down south. Oh, my map didn't save. Oh, wait, did it? No, it didn't. Okay. So I guess I'll update this. So we got reports that this has expanded a little bit. The Russians' zone of control just east of Novelske. So, boop, and then pull this one back over here. Boop, like that. Okay. So this is important because Novelske is the last fortified defensive point before the Russians can approach Krasnohorivka from the north. Will they be able to through these open fields? I don't know. But with the update that we're about to talk about, the Russians are now in a position to begin flanking Krasnohorivka. So down here to the south, if you guys remember, there was already a confirmed Russian advance. It was something like this right here. And then this area was being held by the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians were forced to retreat out of this area, and the front has sort of ended up around this area. In terms of their locations in the city, I don't know if they are all the way over here, but I do know that they had made it up to this street based off of geolocation. And some Russian sources are saying they're basically up to the train station. So that would be pretty aggressive movements for the Russians to get into this town. Apparently, there is a very, very limited number of men on the Ukrainian side. In Krasnohorivka, there's one brigade. I think it's two battalions from one brigade are holding this area. And they're doing a very good job of doing it, but they're having extreme issues. So the Russians are hammering this place with bombs. We saw this building get absolutely annihilated by a Fab 1500. Obviously, bombs falling on this town all day and night. An important defensive point for the Ukrainians, and something that is something that is not going to be given up very easily by the Ukrainians. So expect heavy fighting in this area because, again, there is not much back here in terms of defensive lines. There's just nothing. So if the Russians get through here and they break out, they can just armor spearhead super deep back behind enemy lines and cause real chaos. And then, as everybody responds to that breakthrough, the Russians attack somewhere else, cause another breakthrough, and now you have like a major collapse happening. I believe that's what we're getting close to, just with how fast the Russians are progressing in all these different areas. Again, I had talked about this so that you guys should understand that this is what's coming. Russian assaults outside of Pabieta along this tree line. Apparently, there have been extremely heavy fights in Pabieta. The Ukrainians have been desperately trying to counterattack here, get the Russians out. The Russians are now in full consolidated control and are now going to branch out along the high ground. Remember, I talked about this high ground right here, guys. It runs basically down to here and then all the way out here. It's just this big, it's not like super high ground. It's just like a hill in between this valley and this valley right here that the Russians are going to want to sit on. I have to be on Google Earth to see the elevation change, which I might actually bring up so you guys can see that. Another good source. All right. While that's loading, I will come back over here and see what's going on. We got another question. Oh, brother, give us your take on USA versus Israel. Okay, I will at the end. I'll talk about it because there is some updates about what's going on down there. So I will talk about that in just a second, for sure. Let's see. But back to the map. Oh, wait, I wanted to show you guys Google Earth. Let's see if I can get it to. Is it working? All right. And we're at Krasnohorivka already. Cool. Here's Pabieta. Go down to, let's see. Oh, it's kind of hard to see. But we'll try it. We'll try it anyway. Guys. We'll try it. Sorry. Here we go. Does it not show up? Hold on just a second. Oh, there it is. All right. So here's Pabieta, right? You can see it on this hill right here. And it looks down into this valley. So let me go ahead and wait, 3D. Wait, what's happening? All right, there you go. So now you can kind of see here is this like hill sort of. It's not extremely high, but you can see that there's a downward slope into this little river right here, the Sukiyali River. If I butchered it, I'm sorry, guys. But yeah, so that's sort of that downhill. Like, it's not much high ground, right? It's not what you would really call like dominant high ground or anything, but it does give line of sight for ATGMs. It looks over most tree lines, so it's very valuable in a world of flat. A small hill is king. So yeah, let's go back over to the map now and talk about the last updates. So Pabieta, again, I'll show you guys a map of what I was talking about with the topographical map. I posted it on Twitter, so I was going to show it to you in a second, and I'll show you what my idea for what the Russians are going to do around here is. And then down here in Novomihайлivka, I deleted the gray zone just because it was way too messed up, and I just didn't want to have it here. But I'm going to end up doing a whole gray zone for the entire map pretty soon, which is sort of like a guessing game, but that's okay. But we do have confirmation that the Russians have raised another flag right here at the administration building. So they raised a flag over here at this sort of like at the soccer field area. And now the administration building has had a flag raised over it. So the Russians are moving quickly through the city. This has apparently been also hell for the Ukrainians. The glide bomb usage here and the artillery has just been nonstop for weeks almost. I guess the attrition in the town is very difficult, and the supply is now much more difficult, and the Russians have this high ground looking down. So I expect kind of this whole area to be wrapped up rather quickly once the Russians progress out of Pabieta down the 0532. And like I said, watch this whole area, because I believe that this area is where you're going to see the most Russian movement here pretty soon. I'll just kind of outline it where I think it's going to happen. This area is where I think that you're going to see the most amount of Russian activity, the most amount of sizable Russian advances over, whenever there's the breakthrough. I'm thinking sometime around May. At the current pace, the way things are going, sometime in the month of May when the ground hardens up, if it even gets like super soft, I don't know if it is, just because the weather's been so weird. This whole season has, this whole year for Ukraine has been rather abnormal in terms of like rainfall and ground conditions and freezing. It didn't really freeze a whole lot. There's not a lot of snow on the ground to melt. To make have a lot of groundwater. The rainy season will come. It will turn into mud, but I have a feeling that the muddy season in Ukraine, which is usually March, April, is going to be much shorter and compressed this year. Ding dong, the wicked Nuland witch is gone. Yes, she is. Congratulations, everybody. It's like a Dementor, like floating over you, and then it finally goes away, and you're like, oh. Sorry, that was a gay Harry Potter reference. All right. Okay. Let's see. I think that's it for the map. Let me just take a look, just make sure. Yep, it looks like that's pretty much everything. Oh, I didn't talk about Ivanivsky. So again, there's certain places that are really, really difficult for the Ukrainians right now. Ivanivsky's another one. The Russians are pushing very hard here. The Ukrainians are doing everything in their power to hold this because, again, once Ivanivsky collapses, holding Kleshchivka, holding the salient becomes much more difficult. It probably is already becoming much more difficult as we speak. And after the Russians capture this large set of warehouses, is probably mostly destroyed. Supplying this area becomes almost impossible. You can see the few roads they're not really roads, but paths that lead out here come out of Ivanivsky. So there's nothing from over here. You can see that there's not one single designed road except right here, which this has been completely bombed away. And any crossing across this tends to get bombed or shelled really fast. So it doesn't stick around for very long. I would expect Ivanivsky to fall. It depends on when this fortification on this high ground falls. As soon as that happens, Ivanivsky will fall, and then this will probably fall. So that is also on the docket. And then up north, there's not a lot of movement except in Bielorivka, where, remember, I had this in purple yesterday. I said this was just my guess. I figured it was this tree line just based off of the reading the report, and it ended up being true that was the tree line. So good enough, guys. I hope everybody's doing good. Sorry, I get a little tunnel vision when I start talking about this stuff. So if I'm rambling or anything, I do apologize. I'm just trying to get as much information across to you guys as I can. All right, let's head over and watch some HIMARS get destroyed, huh? Like every time, so I have to make a decision, guys. Every time I do these videos, my videos, like the super thanks and everything, still gets to me, and I appreciate that. But when I go on and make these videos, I have to decide if I'm going to show stuff or not, because I will get demonetized. Like the video gets demonetized if I show stuff. And today's special. So guess what, boys? I'm taking the demonetization because I want to show you guys this. Here we have a, oh, that's very annoying. We have a, there it is. And it gets absolutely obliterated by what some people are calling an Iskander, what I think is actually a Tornado S, the 300 millimeter. It's basically a HIMARS, but with 120 range instead of the HIMARS 80 range. And that means that the Russian HIMARS just destroyed a Ukrainian HIMARS. And as you can see, it was full of missiles getting ready for a strike, and it cooked off and set fire to the forest in multiple areas. So that is the first confirmed visual loss of a Ukrainian American HIMARS. Obviously, we have other losses that we've seen. In fact, if we go back over to my Twitter, I actually don't know if I saved it. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Let me go and find it real fast on my Twitter. It's right here. And there was a couple things I wanted to talk about with that first HIMARS strike as well. So here we go. On today as well, we were presented with another HIMARS strike, potential HIMARS strike. Hello? Okay. Here we go. This is what the Russians are also claiming to be is a HIMARS. So here we have some vehicles rolling up. They claim 2 HIMARS, but I'm not sure. This one looks like a HIMARS for sure. I don't know what this one is. This looks like a support vehicle. I'm not going to go ahead and claim that is a HIMARS by any means. I don't know. They're saying 2 HIMARS, and then Iskander strike comes down and basically obliterated both of the vehicles. Here you can see what I assume is the HIMARS actually burning, and then what I would assume is some sort of support vehicle also burning. We don't know if that's a HIMARS, but that's the claim. And considering that Russia just hit another HIMARS, it's like probably, right? It probably is that. And we've also seen the 2 HIMARS that were severely damaged. You know, they have missing tires, axles messed up, the windows are shattered or, you know, cracked because they've been hit by shrapnel. So we also have those 2 HIMARS, which were damaged, sent back for repairs, technically not destroyed, but, you know, still HIMARS losses. So here's a question. Thanks for biting the demonetization bullet. No problem, dude. I do it for you boys. I do it for you guys. You know, I'm here to present news, and if news means that I don't make money, that's okay. I don't care. I would rather show you guys HIMARS getting destroyed because I think that's cooler. So Ukraine is not committing large-scale genocide like Nazi Germany did. Stalin had to hurry and save people. There's no rush for the Russians now. Yeah, that is true. I mean, there is no massive genocide of Russian peoples going on. Although there is the shelling of Russian populations and stuff. It's nothing even close to compared to what World War II was. So yes, that is absolutely true. Stalin was on the clock. His country was in jeopardy. Russia has the advantage in this conflict. They do not have to rush to get stuff done. It's very true. And Tyler, again, let's see. You got to make some cash, even if it's Canadian money. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Let me get back to showing you guys more destroyed stuff then, since I'm already demonetized. I wanted to show you, there was another Abrams around Berdici. Actually, if I can find the video real quick, it was hit by an ATGM and then hit by a second ATGM. So now we have RPG taking out an Abrams, we have an FPV taking out an Abrams, and we have an ATGM taking out an Abrams. So, I mean, that is a significant amount of loss for the Ukrainians. That's over 10% of their Abrams that they had lost for Berdici. You can tell that they're really investing a lot in this area. There was also a drone attack on Crimea. It was successful. The Project 22160 patrol ship of the Black Sea Fleet, Sergei Kotov, was sunk, severely damaged. Russian sources report that the crew was at least mostly rescued off of the ship. Here we can see the surface drones. This ship has been attacked 4 times by surface drones. What is this music? Oh. I can get down with it. Anyway, the Ukrainian sources that I saw were claiming that 7 Russian sailors died and like 52 were rescued. I don't actually know if that boat has that many people, but I mean, that seems realistic to me. Again, a Black Sea Fleet ship being targeted. This one is more expensive and newer. So not like an outdated, useless ship. It's, very useful. But, and this is, again, I've talked about this, you have these ships sitting in the Black Sea Fleet. The Bosphorus is closed. They're not helping the war effort at all. They don't do anything. They are a part of Russian national security. So obviously they are important, but the way I look at surface fleets right now, they are a way of maintaining presence around the world. But in terms of actual military conflict, these are almost pointless. The only thing that matters now are intercontinental ballistic missiles, hypersonic missiles, cruise missiles, and submarines and aviation, right? So like aircraft carriers have their importance if they're not being targeted by a near peer. But an aircraft carrier sitting off of the North Sea or something like that is going to get absolutely rocked. And then, I mean, it doesn't matter, right? So if you look at the history of the Black Sea Fleet, every time Russia has gotten into a war, the Black Sea Fleet has been the punching bag. This is not new. This is going to happen every single time that there's a war in this area. It is a vulnerable target, easy target. Is it embarrassing for the Russians? Yes. Should they have this under control? Absolutely. I don't understand why this is still happening. There has to be some sort of shift in ideas from the military leadership. But does this change the outcome of the war? Does it change even anything about the war? No. So that's that. All right. It's funny, you guys arguing in my chat with people. Bro, I got so many stupid people that follow me for the wrong reasons. You guys are wasting your time. Trust me, I waste a lot of my time arguing with them. You guys are definitely wasting your time. So here's that high ground out of Pobeda I was talking about. It runs along the fields in between the two valleys where the settlements are along the rivers. So I expect the Russians to push out there and then push down south onto this high ground right here, where they can really start putting a lot of pressure on Konstantinivka. I think that this area of the front is going to move very quickly. And here you can kind of see what I was talking about. Here's Pobieta, here's Novomihailovka. They get out onto this high ground right here. They're going to be able to pressure all of these villages from the north. Now, they're not going to probably extend out this far because, I mean, they are obviously don't want to put themselves into some weird bubble salient, but the option is there to start attacking down on all those towns. So, yep, this is just the Nuland thing. Oh, and then I wanted to talk about that HIMARS strike. So this is the moment before the HIMARS strike, right? You can see that it's obviously an airburst, which is something sort of new. Not entirely new, but for the Tornado S. And you can see in the next picture the shrapnel spread, which is unbelievable. And that's here. You can see it. It's all the way out here. Look at all that dirt getting turned up. Just millions of little, probably ball bearings getting launched out. You can see it goes all the way around here. They're saying the circumference or I can't remember math time. Radius or diameter? I think radius is to the center and diameter is all the way across, and then circumference is all the way around. I think that the diameter is, or that might be wrong. Man, I'm second guessing myself now. I'm going to go with diameter. Yeah, the diameter is around 200 to 300 meters for the shrapnel spread. And that is just huge. I mean, look where the explosion is. This is where the HIMARS is, and there's still probably a football field's worth of death behind it in terms of the shrapnel. So this whole area just gone, right? Everything in this area is unalived very quickly. And I was going to have you guys actually watch the video again. And then we have some really good news, some really top tier news coming up next. So stay tuned. I want you guys to just watch the shrapnel again now that you're looking for it. Look at how the field looks. And this is where the shrapnel is going to be all the way out here. So there's the HIMARS. The missile almost comes down on this vehicle, this lead vehicle. Oof. And there it is, all the way out. So I'll play that again for you guys. I could just watch this all day, so it's all good. Bam. And then you see the shrapnel hit the vehicle and it begin to cook off. So very interesting. You don't usually get to see shrapnel effects, and I think it's cool when you do get to see them. So that's just sort of neat. Here we have Garen 2 production. I wanted to show you guys this video. Just so you know that Iran, a lot of the the memes are like Iran are sending these Garen 2s every day. No, the Garen 2s have been domestically produced for years now. The first batch, or for a year almost now, the first batch that came in, those were Iranian. Now they're all Russian produced drones. So then these are carbon fiber and black, so they reduce their radar signature even further. It's very cool. All right. And that's a lot of Garen 2s. I mean, this is like, think about air defense missiles have going after each one of these, and then those air defense missiles being replaced. Pretty crazy. All right. And then for the final piece of news today, the good news right here. This little guy, little anteater, was born at the Kaliningrad Zoo. And I know he's pretty big for being a baby. And I will show you. I also call him a little fucker. So here he is on his mama's back. And here he is with his little tongue out. Dude, he's so cute. If any of you guys don't know, anteaters are the bee's freaking knees. We stick with those anteaters, ride or die anteater. Aardvarks are also sick as hell. My Instagram bio is a patch notes for all life on Earth. I'll read it to you guys real fast. All right, here we go. So this is my bio. There is a heaven and a hell, and only aardvarks go there. Afterlife update 10.4. Heaven now accepting armadillos, anteaters, and pangolins. That's my Instagram bio. So, that's how much I love anteaters. If you guys ever wanted to surprise me for my birthday, it's coming up. Get me an anteater, boys. That's if it's not that, it's not anything, and I don't care if it's nothing else. All right. I think that's all I had to talk about today. If you guys have some questions, go ahead and get them in now. Get them in. Questions. Just normal questions or super thanks are also very much appreciated, but I'll try to get some. I wonder why women like anteaters. Goated, dude. They're goated. You know why. Scott won't think about banning NAFO trolls. If there's people in here who are being absolutely atrocious, like post them up and I'll remove them. I don't care. Question: do you think Russia will try to retake Kherson? Okay, hold on, everybody, hold up. I gotta go on my Twitter real fast and find something because this very question is near and dear to me. How do I search my profile? Can you search your profile on the web browser? I actually don't know. I'll try to figure it out. What is happening? I'm sorry, guys. I don't know how to actually search my posts on. Damn. I don't know how to search my posts on the browser. I know how to do it on my phone. Yeah. But I have a post that says, basically, it has the Russian flag flying over Kherson, and it was after the failed first Ukrainian counteroffensive in Kherson, and I said, like, the Russian flag flies over Kherson, and it's never going to leave. It's a pretty notable meme. If you guys know me, it's one of my greatest blunders because a few months later, the Russians decided to withdraw. And I did not expect them to do that. So they went ahead and did that. And yes, I do expect the Russians to retake Kherson. And I do expect to gloat and stunt on every single human being on Twitter when that ends up happening, because I have been ridiculed for that take. And I do expect Russia to retake Kherson. I have quite some blunders. Well, you're a fella. So at the end of the day, I might have blunders, but at least I'm not an incel dork who has to join an online community to actually feel, what would you call it? Liked, appreciated, cared for? I know you've gone through most of your life just not enjoying it because of the person that you are and the deficiencies that you have as a person, but it's okay because I have some blunders. So it's okay. It's okay, Bubba. That was this guy, Borg fella. Borg fella, congratulations. You got your 15 minutes of fame. I am NAFO to help Ukraine. I am NAFO to help Ukraine. It's so hard. Is that so hard to believe? Yes, it is, because you don't give a shit about Ukraine. You didn't care about them before the war. You don't care about them after. I've been following Ukraine for 10 plus years. If you cared about Ukraine, you would want them to negotiate. You wouldn't be wanting them to go and run off and die in battle. You're a hypocrite and a disgusting loser. That's what you are. And I know that because I bullied kids like you all the time. I can tell by the way you talk. Is that so hard to believe? And you're probably a 50-year-old boomer, too, who's just acting like a kid because they never actually grew up. Bruh. Fuck these kids. They suck. They're not even good at what they do. Like, if the NAFO group was actually good at trolling, if they actually came up with good jokes, That would be awesome. But all they do is post like the same memes. Like they're not even like their own original memes. They steal memes from other NAFO and then just post it and then go and report people. It's like they're like brown shirts. They're literally like brown shirts in Germany. They go and they shout down people with dissenting opinions because they can't actually make a good argument. They don't have any arguing or debate skills. They just know how to shut people down, or they try to. And it doesn't work for me because, well, for one, I have like obsessive compulsive ADHD. So I will literally talk with you until I die because I get enjoyment from watching you people squirm. I'm sorry. I'm getting a little off track. I've just been dealing with a lot of NAFO lately, and I've really begun to understand like the group that they are, and most of them are 50-year-old boomers or 60-year-olds that, you know, are trying to stay connected somehow. It's very weird. Bonking wins wars. Yep, it surely does. Man, that's why there's less and less NAFO every day, huh? They hang up the old profile picture and they go away. You're a dying breed, man. He's still in here talking. And this is the best thing about him is that you can talk to them all day and they'll just keep responding and you'll just keep making fun of them and they'll just keep coming back because they think they're winning. That's the best part is they think that they're doing something and they're not. Because I'm still here. You guys have been trying to get rid of me since I had 20,000 followers and I am still here and I'm not going anywhere. Let's see. NAFO, mom's basement type of dudes. Unfortunately, that's not the type of dudes that they are. That's the type of dudes that you think that they are, right? But they're usually just like below average. You know, they never really achieved much. They have like this longing. And it's not so much that, you know, I call them incels and whatever because they often talk about genitalia at an excessive rate. I mean, it can't not talk about it. And not just me. I know I got the jokes about me, whatever. That's fine. Make fun of me. It's a funny picture. Go for it. I don't care. It's when they're always talking about like political people like Putin or anybody, it's always about genitalia and it's just so weird. So that part is a little incel-ish and projection and whatnot. But mostly they're just very, very unfulfilled, unsuccessful individuals who really don't have anything else to do. If they were like, and you know, you might say I'm hypocritical because I'm online all day. I'm doing this all day. I have 100,000 followers. I have 605 people. You're in here arguing with me. So at least I'm successful at being online. You suck at it. Hey, Scott, what do you think about NATO troops entering Ukraine? It absolutely terrifies me. Do you think it's an inevitability? I don't know. It just depends on how bad the situation is in Europe, right? If the situation is really, really bad in Europe and they are really relying on this Ukraine project working out, I would not be surprised. I mean, Macron is already talking about it. We had reports of French reconnaissance aircraft and Rafales escorting them that were pushed away from the Russian border. So obviously they're saber rattling there. I don't think that Europe is militarily ready to go into Ukraine at all. So I would not expect that anytime soon. I think that they're just trying to kind of intimidate Russia a little bit by saying this stuff. But I mean, you saw every single country come out and say, no, we're not going to send troops in. And even Macron came out to say today and said, no, we're not going to send troops into Ukraine because they just can't. It's just not, they're not up for the task right now. And it doesn't make sense for them. It doesn't make sense for their economies. It doesn't make sense for them domestically. It's not going to be popular. It's not a good idea. It's just not going to work. Let's see. You don't think Nuland won't still be pulling the strings behind the scenes? Just so you know, Nuland is not new land. It's Nuland. Just for future reference, I don't care. I know exactly what you're talking about. This is the thing about English or like language is if I know what you're talking about, it doesn't matter how you spell it. So I got it. But people make fun of you. So just if you didn't know, that's the proper way to spell that. Not me though, dude. I know what you're talking about. Let's see. Do you think she'll still be pulling the strings from behind the scenes? Probably not. I think that she has somebody above her that's pulling. You know, she's just another puppet. Not like Biden. She's more of a decision maker, but she still is answering to somebody at some place, right? It's not Nuland's project. It's a bigger project, and she's just part of it. Question. Do you think that your map is accurate to what Russia wants, and how achievable is it? What map are you specifically referring to? Are you referring to my presentation map that I did yesterday, the one that Medvedev put up? I think that would be maximum Russian goals. I don't know if that is going to be achieved. Obviously, you know, a collapse on either side could mean a completely different outcome. It's hard to predict the future, but I think that what Medvedev showed is now what the Russians are, you know, contemplating as being their maximist goals, because they don't want Eastern Ukraine. There's no point in that. It's just going to be a nightmare. There's no economy over there. The people don't like them. They don't need to. There is no connection to Western Ukraine for the Russians. That is Polish. That is European. That is not the brother that the Russians always talk about. That is East Ukraine, right? And Southern Ukraine, not so much Western Ukraine. So. Oh, well, okay, here's somebody. He says, will you please answer this guy's question? Okay, let me look for it. Scott Ritter said on an interview with George Galloway that he talked to Epti, a Russian commander, who said that by May there will be major movements and by September a collapse. I just am always very bearish when it comes to claims like this. Like I don't like to put a date on anything, but you know, as I said, in terms of May is literally exactly what I said, because that's when the weather gets better and that's when the Russians will probably make a move. I said, be watching this southern front right here all the way back to Pokrovsk, because there's just not stable Ukrainian defenses. And once the Russians get through, if they can actually penetrate and create some movement and start maneuvering very quickly, there's no minefields, there's no pre-positioned artillery. They'll have to deal with FPVs and mobile Ukrainian defensive units, but even that is incredibly difficult. And then once you bust through like that, air defense has to be retreated because it can't defend. So then you're going to see a Russian Air Force who already has basically air superiority over Ukraine. If you've seen the recent videos of the bombings of Chasiv Yar or Novomihailovka or anything, these Russian planes are flying at incredibly high altitude, very close to the front, which is a very, very bad sign for Ukraine. High altitude close to the front means that the Ukrainians are becoming extremely exhausted on long range or even medium range air defense. And that makes bombings much easier. Everything starts to progress faster. So a collapse by September, if there are big successful Russian movements in May and they don't get halted by Ukrainian defense, then a collapse by September is very realistic. If the Russians attack in May and it's just, you know, some gains here, some gains there, they get into another city, start another city, like, you know, another battle for another city, then probably not a collapse by September. But like I said, I don't have every single point of data. I don't know how many reserves the Ukrainians have. I don't know what their ammunition shortages are looking like. It's just kind of a toss up. Oh, well, that makes sense. Vive la France. There we go. Of all the stupid things to say, a fella hits us with Viva la France. Viva la surrender, boys. All right. Kalibrated, best take of the day. Baby Yar Memorial is a monument to Russian influence. I saw this. I saw this post. Yeah. I'm trying to think. My brain is fried. The memorial to, was it Ukrainian heroes that fought against Nazi occupation? And it is and then they're claiming that it's a monument of Russian influence. It's fantastic, dude. It's fantastic. Oh, look, another fella. My brain doesn't exist. The fella with Godzilla Fellazilla, GBUA. Your brain doesn't exist. Awesome, dude. Awesome. And you have a Godzilla Shiba Inu AI picture for your profile picture. I mean, my brain doesn't exist, but you're an NPC. So at least I have a brain to not exist, right? You don't exist at all. All right. All right. That's where I'm taking us out with one last burn on an AFO. I enjoyed this, guys. I appreciate you. Please check in tomorrow for the next update. And remember, Saturday, I will be hosting a roundtable with a number of high profile guests, hopefully. Just depends on who's available at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So on Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So mad, dude. Look at this. So mad. You can't handle it. You just can't handle the smoke. So, don't come in here if you can't get shit talked to, little puss. All right. Love you guys. Take care. See you next time. Bye.